right, here we are, another episode of Canada on the Rocks. I am your host, pt2, local realtor with Sun Group Ottawa. And today we have Shady Aboud with Storyline Financial. So how long is like fractional accounting has been sort of, or fractional finance has been kind of out there?
It's been out at least like 10 years. But the term fractional, I've only started to hear more about over the last 2-3 years. And even me working for another company as a fractional CFO for a company out of Toronto, I didn't know about fractional services before I took that job. And then I was like, wow, this is great, right?
So how did it start? I don't know how it started. So I'm asking the question, did it start as far as like maybe just, hey, I just want to kind of be outsourced, like a contract here or a contract there, kind of, or how did it?
My assumption is that someone who was a CFO with a company, they're getting close to the age of retirement. They don't want to work full time. So they decided, hey, I'm just going to take on a few clients. That way I can have a work-life balance. I've had that experience. I think that's probably how it started, right? It's essentially
More of a consulting.
It's consulting in a way. Yeah.
Which is a lot of people do end up doing because they don't necessarily want to hire somebody full time. So every, 6 months, 10 months, a year or so, they'll get someone to take a look at their books and be like, hey, give me a bit of an advice. What should I do? So you really, at that point, you're only hiring them to do like a full audit.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not doing, the 10 hours a month, but you're doing it once, maybe 100 hours all out.
So with fractional CFO, and this is not an area I specialize in, but some of them really work more on like a project basis, which are specific scenarios. So if like a mergers and acquisition. So they'll come in and do a lot of modeling to see how that looks like, how much they should value the business, how much their own equity they can give up to purchase it. Kind of like a project one-time thing, right? Or fractional CFOs help with companies with getting financing. So if you're a company, you want to get some investment in or a big loan, you need a fractional CFO to come in, organize your books, do some projections, do some forecasting, kind of like a one-time thing as well.
It's interesting. It's a very, very interesting field. Before, like you said, 10 years ago, never heard the term.
Yeah.
When you have a CFO, it made it big as an organization.
Yeah.
Or you even have an accountant. Having an accountant actually just made it big.
Yeah.
Some of us still see the accountant once a year. In my opinion, you should see an accountant at least once a month. Let them do the
at least your financial statements, you can look at them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that expertise, maybe hire to look.
Yeah.
Would you guys do the sort of like one-off service? Hey, once a year, kind of get you guys to take a look at my books and tell me whatever I should do or what should I invest in, all of that stuff?
Exactly.
Or is that something that you don't?
No, we can do it. A lot of times what happens is that people see so much value in what we do that
they're like,
they want more.
This is exciting. I want to do it more.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we do this every month?
Because at the end of the day, there's big money that, at play there. By doing it versus not, you can save thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for your business.
And that's through like having an accountant to see that foresight of like, you're spending the same money. Like if you're spending it here, or you're spending it at outsource, it's the same thing. When you're spending it as an outsource, as an example, like I'll give you a very simple one. For me, example, I go out there and I, put signs up sometimes, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Now I outsource putting the signs because to me, it's just like, it's a massive undertaking. I have to schedule it in my day. I gotta, make sure that I have the hammer and this and that. It just doesn't.
Plus, your time is worth money.
Exactly.
And the way you spend your time can bring more revenue to your business. So there's certain things that you do that's going to affect your business in a big way. By spending time putting up signs, you're actually denying the business.
Correct. So instead of you focusing on the monotonous and like just the normal activities that you still need regardless of what's going on, because they're not necessarily a revenue generating activity.
Exactly.
But they are activities needed to secure that revenue that you have. So those activities can be outsourced because then you use that time to, for example, like instead of me spending an hour and a half, 2 hours to go out and put the sign, I can spend 2 hours of doing prospecting.
Exactly. Which is going to affect your business in a bigger way.
A lot more.
And oftentimes when you outsource it, the people you outsource might do it faster than you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're paying, it takes you 2 hours. Maybe you pay the person you outsource for 1 hour of work because he has all the tools. He's really good at it. And that's typically with all outsourcing, right?
Exactly. And that goes like it's very, very sort of similar idea of like, I Uber in or do I want to go to eat?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of the times we're still sense to just Uber Eats.
Yeah.
I hate to be doing a commercial for Uber Eats, but basically that's what it is. Like, look, man, it's going to cost me 2 hours to try to cook
Clean.
and
Think of
clean
what
and do
you
all of
need
that
to
stuff.
do. Yeah.
And I really only have about 15 minutes to do.
Exactly.
So maybe the right play at this point is to just go out and actually get it. Same kind of situation for a business, but I don't know much.
Yeah. And also when you outsource versus having someone in to do it, when you have an employee, it's a lot more than what you're just paying them. You got to be close with them. You got to develop them. You got to make sure they're happy in their job. There's a lot of expenses that come with each employee above and beyond
Loaded
their
box.
payroll. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's we used to do it quite often with IT when you're selling IT service management, and they're like, well, yeah, but the employee is only costing me 60 grand. You're like, no, it's actually costing almost 100.
Yeah.
How? Well, when you break in, you add in, for example, the health benefits, you add in the vacation days, you add
the Christmas party,
you add in also the education gonna give them. You add on top of that the desk that they're sitting at. That's all expenses that it gets added up. So really, every employee comes with a loaded cost.
Yeah. And it takes time too, because no one wants to have an employee and you never spend time asking how their day was and stuff like that. You need to have that bonding with your employees as well.
And then hiring too, the same exact idea. Like if I'm going to hire somebody, do know that the ramp up period, like that person is not going to be day one effective, go out and hit the pavement.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. They're still going to ramp up. They're still going to understand how I work and the way that my systems work and where they should sit and who we should talk to and all of that stuff that takes time. So by the time they're ramped up, that could be another 90 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
the onboarding period is huge. Yeah. And then if things don't work out and you need to let them go, there's severances as well.
Yeah.
Which don't come with
even if it's still 2 weeks, you're still 2 weeks out of pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like nothing's nowadays, especially when it comes to workforce. Hence why we're not able to find appropriate people sometimes for the workforce that we're looking for. Shady, there's a lot to learn about financial accounting and just being like a fractional financial accounting that I haven't really heard much about. And I feel like there's a lot more to bring up.
I'm happy to talk about it anytime. I'm a big nerd when it comes to that stuff. And once you get me started, I'll just go and go.
Yeah. So tell me about, one of my most recent clients that you brought on board. What does that look like to bring them on board, to take them into your fold? What does that process look like?
So yeah, the first process is looking at the accounting, because it always starts at the accounting piece to make sure, first of all, it's being done correctly, which, there's oftentimes there's mistakes there. So you're more of a controller, step one, than a fractional CFO. Make sure the accounting's done right, auditing the systems and processes, and then reorganizing the accounting to be able to have it in a way where you can get your insights from. That's always step one. Step two then is, once all the systems are in place, once the accounting's cleaned up and the foundation is there, then it's starting to understand what the business owner's goals are and how can we make strategic decisions based on data. So some of the kind of the services broken down on the accounting piece is a little bit taken care of, and the systems are in place and the audits are done and everything's clean, is we can look at it in a few different ways. There's one is FP&A, financial planning analysis. So that's looking at the financial statements and analyzing them every month. How did this month compare to last month? How was the quarter? What went up? What went down? What expenses went up and down? Why is this one line on your financial statement so much higher this month than the other month? So you analyze the financial statements. And again, you're also educating the business owners on the financial statements. A lot of the times they've never looked at those statements. They're just looking at their bank balance or the revenue counter, and they're not looking at the statements. Number two is budgeting and forecasting. So that's where you budget into the future. So you kind of set limits on how much you want certain things, and then you forecast. Forecasting, it's more of an art than a science, because there's a lot of ways you can look at it. You can just average out what's happened in the past. You can then add certain metrics or certain drivers like growth. So you can say, well, we're going to forecast that we're going to grow 5% because we want that as a target. We're going to do these initiatives. We want to grow, or 10%. Or if the company has been growing 5% every year, we can say, let's forecast how it would look like to grow 10%.
Yeah.
And again, with growth, there's a lot of decisions. We bring on more people. Do we outsource? Do we invest in infrastructure? Do we invest in marketing? And then a third thing is setting benchmarks and doing metrics and KPIs. So you want to look at which KPIs are affecting the business in a big way. And then let's benchmark them against industry standards to make sure we're reaching, what we want to reach with those KPIs.
The one biggest thing that, like especially when it comes to growth, a lot of times one sort of aspect that comes to mind is that whole point of diminishing returns. How do you guys break it down to the business to let them know that, like, look, you're not going to make any more money. If you end up adding, you're actually losing money, making money.
Yeah, well, that's a really good one. And right off the bat, I'm thinking of like marketing spend. For every dollar of marketing, you might get the revenue back for the first, let's say, 3,000. Then it might be less and less. All these points of diminishing returns, it's not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of data. You have to crunch the numbers. And a lot of what accountants and finance people do, it's number crunching.
Yeah.
Around 80% of what I do is looking at numbers. The last 20% is where the numbers now are all set. Let's understand what they mean and how it can drive decisions.
It's funny to say that because like that, especially when it comes to marketing, that's the first thing that came to mind is like lead generation. Look, if I'm spending, as an example, $1,000 and I'm getting that many leads a month, what does that look like? And then some people are like, well, I'm not closing enough business. I'm just going to throw more money at it. It's the stupidest thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah. Depends on the numbers.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's the thing. Like you get to the point where like, okay, I can only handle that many leads a month.
Yeah.
With the bandwidth that I have, with the capacity, with the amount of hours that I have. After that, I can no longer take on any clients. So anything that comes over and above is just a waste.
Exactly.
So like we're, finding that sort of sweet spot is really the biggest issue.
Yeah. And then for you, it might be like, okay, to that amount, I can't handle it. Do I bring someone on?
And this again comes to the point where, okay, well, bringing somebody else is training them. The amount of hours I'm going to spend getting up and running and like all of that. How long is that going to take?
Yeah.
Often do I want to do this? Is this going to be like once a year I'm going to bring somebody to the team, or once every 6 months, or like there's a lot that goes in.
And I'm sure you've thought about all these questions.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And it's those are questions that keep me up at night.
That keep you up at night. So a lot of times,
no, I'm just going to call Shady.
You're in bed, right? You're thinking about them. But wouldn't it be a lot easier if you had them broken down with numbers and saying month 1, 2, 3 is going to cost you this much. You'll see on month 4, you're going to bring in this much more. And it's taking a lot of the ambiguity out of decision, right? Because it's all, you can see it in the numbers.
So for businesses that are looking to grow to that, 2 million mark, 3 million mark, 5 million mark, whatever, what do you suggest for them to engage you? Because I know you did say like normally it's 2 to 10, but like if someone is at that aspiration, don't you think it makes sense to engage you a little bit earlier?
Yeah, and I'll put a caveat to that whole has to be over. Another kind of quality for a business to require or get value from a CFO is a business that's growing. So even if you are below the 2 million, but you're growing and you want to keep growing, there's definitely value in bringing a fractional CFO.
So for example, like I'll throw out a business out there, an accountant, or maybe accountant is a bad idea, but let's just say, why would an accountant hire another accountant?
Well, no, even accounting firms, right? Because they could hire a fractional CFO because their specialty. Their specialty is the pass.
And you see like how many files can they handle, how many clients can they take on. So it makes more sense. But let's just, for the sake of argument, a mechanic out there, they've got the number of bays that they're dealing with, this and that, and they're bringing in about $500,000 a year, but they're looking at growth. They grow. Would that be something that you'd maybe want to do like a consultation on, or is it more of a, let's do a consultation and see if actually maybe there is?
Yeah, I think that would be more like a one-time project type work. You do a little modeling. You say, okay, let's say you either have a second location or you open one bigger location. Do the two look like? How much money will it take for each option? and how much money, how are your financial statements going to look with each option, even just saying, because a lot of times, expanding, by the end of the day, it's not making you more money.
I've had businesses where like, hey, I'm just opening up another store, and we went ahead, we got the store, we went to the location, and then a month later they realized, holy shit, it's actually costing me a lot more money. I'm making less take home with a bigger headache.
Yeah.
I just want to shut it down.
Yeah.
I said, okay, no problem.
It's counterintuitive sometimes.
Exactly. Really appreciate it, man. There's a lot that I've learned. I'm glad hopefully the audience, there's a lot to learn. And then there's a lot more to learn. Hanging out with this guy, I'm learning something new. Serial entrepreneur to start with. Really appreciate it that you're making the time for us. And I'd love to, see you in like 6 months, a year from now, see what it's all about.
Absolutely.
We're at, and I'm always excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
I can never hide with Shady is like at that level of excitement.
Likewise.
Really appreciate it.
And I always love watching you on the dance floor, too. Yeah,
Tell anyone.
Off the camera, we'll have a few more conversations.
Thanks again, guys. If you like what you see, please don't forget to hit the like button. And for episodes like this and you want to see business owners like that, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe so you can get the little bell icon. And then this way, every time we bring a new episode, at least you're alerted about it and you know that, there's an exciting business coming in. And if you have any business that you want to suggest to us, by all means, hit it up in the comments and would love to, personally, I would reach out to them and I will get them on the show. Shady, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.